The F-4E Phantom is a two-seat aircraft where each crew member is responsible for different aspects of the plane. The front crew is the pilot and tasked with controlling and flying the aircraft and delivering its weapons. The back crew is the Weapons Systems Officer, WSO, and tasked with operating the radar, employing the navigation systems, and configuring weapons. On DCS, the simulation provides an artificial WSO, so that even on single-player mode we can fly the F-4E as pilots, helped by the AI WSO. Unfortunately, there is no AI pilot, so this training mission is meant only for the pilot. On a real F-4E, the cold start procedure is not just about starting engines and go fly, it is also about making sure that every aircraft system is actually working correctly before going into the air, so many procedure steps are checks to make sure every system operates correctly. Select your preference, press spacebar if you want to learn all the procedure steps, including all checks and non-essential steps. Press backspace if you want to learn just the essential steps, omitting all the rest. Okay, you have chosen to learn just the essential steps, omitting all the checks and non-essential steps. Two variants of the cold start are provided on this training mission. Normal cold start, employing ground electric power and an external pneumatic air source. Autonomous cold start, employing the aircraft's electric battery and two compressed air cartridges, not employing any ground support at all. Select your preference, press spacebar for a normal start, or press backspace for an autonomous start. You have selected an autonomous cold start, employing the aircraft's electric battery and two compressed air cartridges, not employing any ground support equipment. We will begin this cold start procedure with the steps of the before exterior inspection section of the F-4E normal procedures. Put on the helmet that is over the right canopy rail by clicking on it. It is a bit dark at this hour. If you can't find a cockpit element, feel free to employ your flashlight, which can be toggled with left Alt plus L. Another way to illuminate the cockpit at cold start is the cockpit white floodlights. They are connected directly to the battery bus, so they can be used even on a cold aircraft, but do not leave them on too long, to prevent draining the battery. Finding the switch in the dark can be difficult, so you may want to assign a keyboard binding to it. On my case I employ left Control F. Also, if the air traffic noise prevents you from hearing me clearly, you can close the canopy at any moment, as it is pneumatically operated and does not need electric power. Press spacebar to continue. Throttle levers, off. Click on the finger lifts on the front side of each throttle to move them from off to idle and vice versa, or use the command bindings shown. Press spacebar once you confirm both throttles are at off. For this mission, you selected an autonomous cold start, employing the aircraft's electric battery with no help from a ground electric power unit. To connect the battery, turn on both engine master switches to close the battery relay. Do this now. Good, this last step completes the before exterior inspection section of the cold start when using battery power. Press spacebar to begin the front cockpit interior check. Good, this completes the front cockpit interior check. Press spacebar to proceed with the before starting engines procedure. Throttles, off. Double check that both throttles are on their off position. Press spacebar to begin the starting engines procedure. The real aircraft start procedure establishes the right engine as being started first, to ascertain that both utility hydraulic system pumps are operating properly. The right engine pump delivers 2,775 ± 225 psi at idle, while the left engine pump delivers 3,000 ± 250 psi. Because of this, the single needle utility hydraulic pressure indicator cannot be used to determine pump operation, unless the right engine is started first. As our UHF radio does not function with just battery power, we will start engines without asking for air traffic controller clearance. Press spacebar to continue. The engines can be started by utilizing electrical power from either an external power source or from the aircraft battery, and by utilizing air pressure from a ground cart or from a pyrotechnic cartridge. For this particular training mission, we will employ just the aircraft battery and a pyrotechnic cartridge. Cartridge air source, ask ground crew to load start cartridges. On DCS this is accomplished by using the gesture menu. Press A to call up the crew chief menu, or set the mic switch aft on your throttle. Good, now select crew chief, then air source, and finally select load start cartridges. Press spacebar once you hear the crew chief confirming that cartridges for both engines have been loaded.
Roger. Cart's loaded, sir.
To start each engine, once its RPM reaches 10%, you will need to simultaneously move the throttle from stop to beyond idle, while keeping its ignition button pressed. While you can move the throttle from off to idle by clicking on its finger lifts, and then advance it by moving forward your HOTAS throttle lever, make sure to bind at least the ignition buttons, to make it easier to perform these three actions on a single take. Press spacebar to continue. Right generator control switch, set to Gen on. Later, when the right engine reaches over 53% RPM, the generator will start to provide electric power to the aircraft. Right ignition button, depress and hold the right ignition button, and simultaneously advance the throttle to a position halfway up the throttle quadrant. Engine start switch, flick momentarily to its right position, with a right mouse click. Do not release the ignition button yet. This will fire the right cartridge, a bang sound will be heard. Then, release the engine start switch to its central position. Monitor the engine's RPM and temperature, for indications that light off has occurred. Release the ignition button as soon as a sharp rise in EGT indicates light off.
Canopy down and locked, lights out, and stripes aligned.
Reached at 65 ±1%. Left ignition button, depress and hold the button, and simultaneously advance the left throttle to a position halfway up the throttle quadrant. Engine start switch, flick momentarily to its left position, with a left mouse click. Do not release the ignition button yet. This will fire the left cart. Monitor the engine's RPM and temperature, for indications that light off has occurred. Release the ignition button as soon as a sharp rise in EGT indicates light off. Idle RPM is reached at 65 ±1%. Left generator control switch, set to on. Ensure both LH gen out and bus tie open lights go out, and that INS is not in the align mode yet. Once both generators are active, on DCS single-player mode gesture will ask if you are ready to begin the alignment. Use the mouse to click within its red circle.
Our generator's up.
Clicking
I can
yes.
start the alignment.
Roger.
Next,
Which
Jester will
alignment
ask
do you
which
want?
alignment type you want. Click again within its red circle. Jester will then offer 3 alignment options. Full alignment, for the greatest INS precision but takes around 8 minutes to align. Best available true heading, bath, takes only a bit over 2 minutes but it has around half the precision. Heading memory alignment is offered only if there is prior alignment data on the system, takes the same time as bath but its precision is closer to the full alignments. As we are omitting all checks and kind of on a hurry, select between the shorter bath or memory alignments, do not click on full. Jester will carry out the selected alignment. Press spacebar to continue.
Okay, starting stored heading alignment.
Interior check, complete. At this point you would perform the steps and checks that couldn't be done when starting on battery alone, but we will skip them this time. Before taxi, we will omit the following check steps. Trim, check and set 1 to 3 units nose down. Check operation of the pitch trim indicator and set it between -1 and -3 units down. With trim at -3 you will have a nose-heavy tendency on the takeoff roll, which quickly approaches a trim condition as the aircraft lifts off and gear and flaps are retracted. With -1 trim, a very marked nose-up trim occurs beyond 230 knots during takeoff, requiring a large nose-down trim change at a very low altitude. Altimeter and static pressure compensator, SPC, set and check. The SPC is a regulating module within the air data computer, used to eliminate major altimeter lag during rapid changes in altitude. The CADC switch, located near the throttles, controls the functioning of the SPC. The switch has positions for reset correction, normal, and correction off. With the switch in norm and the SPC operating normally, major altimeter lag during rapid changes in altitude is eliminated. Set current altimeter setting on the barometric scale. For today's mission it is 29.92 inches of mercury. On DCS it is already set. The altimeter pointer should indicate the field elevation within ±75 feet. We are currently at Bodo, which is at 42 feet above sea level. Press spacebar to continue. Prior to each flight, the SPC must be reset by placing the SPC switch to its position, reset correction, and hold it there. The light, static correction off, should go out and remain out. Altimeter reading should not exceed 25 feet from the original reading. Once reset, engage the SPC by releasing the switch to its central position, norm.
You can go primary sync now. Alignment's done. We're ready to taxi.
The same procedure should have been done by the weapons system officer, on the back seat, and after the SPC reset the difference in altimeter reading between the front and rear cockpit should not exceed 75 feet. Press spacebar to continue. ADI reference system selector, primary. Sets the ADI to gather its attitude data from the INS, but be sure that the INS alignment has completed. The ADI and HSI will adjust to the new reference attitude. Wheel chocks and ground interphone cord, removed. The cold start is finished, ask the ground crew to remove the wheel chocks. Press spacebar once they have been removed.
Roger. Yes, sir. Chalk's out. And we're good to go, sir. Have a safe flight. Disconnecting.
Congratulations, you have successfully completed an abbreviated autonomous cold start, omitting all check steps and employing no ground equipment. Now take a rest break before attempting the next taxi, takeoff, and climb training mission. Press spacebar to exit.